At the core of our Constitution 2010 was the desire to have an open government. Governments in their very nature exist for the good of the people. Governments exist because of serving the common citizen. And contrary to all the arguments that have been around here about why governments exist, and probably if they do not serve the common good, probably the evolution of government should actually answer that and reinforce it once and for all, that governments evolved, first of all, to just take care of law and order, to protect people against each other and then against outsiders. And over time, of course, government's role has expanded to include the economy and public service, among other things. So if there's anything that has been constant across history, has been an ever-growing government and a big government. So whereas government was actually established to work for people, government ended up being an oppressor of the people. And that is why then the concept or the philosophy of open government actually came up. It has got its roots in the 17th and 18th century Enlightenment era, where a lot of reading and the age of reason was actually embraced, and people were allowed to question their government, at least in a systematic manner. Even though criticizing and scrutinizing government is a very old ritual, as old as governments have always existed. Why open government? Open government is very basic. Like I said, it's actually a philosophy in governance that over time has actually evolved to become policies that are embraced by so many governments that actually states or rather holds that governments should make their data sets available to the public primarily for three things: to enhance or to promote accountability, transparency, and value creation. Why, if you were to look at Kenya's story since 1963, Kenya is 57 years old today, but Kenya has not been one of the best open governments, of course, until we had the Constitution 2010. We still had the word serikali, which means government. In our interpretation was sirikali, that government operations, their data sets and their proceedings were held as top secret. And even basic things like how you are going to contract a road, how you register, you couldn't know what was happening. And that along the way, of course, opened up a lot of graft, a lot of abuse of government along the way. So the very essence of why governments exist then were defeated in a nature where operations of government become opaque. We know there were days when people would be arrested and no one will be told about it. You'll be arrested and no one tells you why you are arrested. So everything in government was opaque. In 2011, a year after we had promulgated the Constitution 2010, Kenya joined the Open Government Partnership, the OGP. And of course, since then, we've actually come up with a number of things to actually ensure that we are an open society, an open government, and that to realize value for the money that is actually placed into government operations, to promote transparency, for government to be accountable. We joined that group of 79 countries that actually belong to the OGP. Of course, as a country, we have got a number of things that we committed ourselves to, things like beneficial ownership, so that we know who owns a certain company, if it's going to trade with government and it's going to benefit from it. So that that end, because largely our corruption in this country is very much procurement based. It's heavily procurement based. And so one of those things we committed ourselves to as a country was a beneficial ownership, where it's open for anyone to know in the company registry who owns what. Today you can search any company and know who is the owner and everything else. We no longer have got days when it was hidden. And that is why we had issues like Anglo leasing, Golden Bug in the days of old and such. We have got open legislation. Sometimes government sessions were held, or rather legislative sessions were held in secret, and laws that were passed were either punitive or such. We came up with open contracting. We committed ourselves to open contracting, where tenders and procurement is actually done openly. And like I said, corruption in this country is largely procurement based. The others actually just come after that. The other aspects we committed ourselves to, like geospatial data, open geospatial data for development. In the days of old, sometimes having geospatial data will look like you want to overthrow government because you understand the terrain and other things. But geospatial data is important, very important for development if you're going to plan. Other aspects about open elections, electoral processes and such. There's quite a number of things that we committed ourselves to do. But largely there are about 4 clauses in the Constitution. We call them the sunshine clauses. Article 32, that is about freedom of conscience. Article 33, freedom of expression. Article 34, freedom of the media. And Article 35, that is actually at the heart of open government, which is access to information, the freedom to access information. Those largely, you would call them the sunshine. At least they beam light on the operations of government and how government operates. That has largely been Kenya's story around open government.